You got what you were after, so pay up.
You're crying in the rain, Pally.
Guess who's waking up over here?
Time to cash out.
Will you get it over with?
Maybe cons kill people without looking them in the face. But I ain't a fink. Dig? You've made your last delivery, kid. Sorry you got twisted up in this scene. From where you're kneeling must seem like an 18-carat run of bad luck. Truth is, the game was rigged from the start.
I heard the gun go off. A bright light blinded me. And then, it was over. It wasn't supposed to end like this. I survived 4 years in the army. Countless near-death encounters with raiders and horrifying monsters, only to die here in a shallow grave in the middle of the waste to some prick in a fancy suit. All I did was pick up a package. A simple job. That's all it was supposed to be. Of all the dangers I had survived, all those close scrapes, making it through those battles, just to take a bullet to the head over a small box. It wasn't supposed to end like this, and little did I know, lying there as my life flashed before my eyes. It wouldn't. My story had only begun. A story of vengeance and violence, one that would paint the Mojave red with blood. In that moment of deathly clarity, I thought of only one thing. Revenge. I awoke with a splitting headache.
You're awake. How about that? Whoa, easy there, easy. You've been out cold a couple of days now. Why don't you just relax a second? Get your bearings. Let's see what the damage is. How about your name? Can you tell me your name?
My name? It was there. Rubin Stark.
Can't say it's what I'd have picked for you, but if that's your name, that's your name. I'm Doc Mitchell. Welcome to Good Springs. Now, I hope you don't mind, but I had to go rooting around there in your noggin to pull all the bits of lead out. I take pride in my needlework, but you'd better tell me if I left anything out of place. How'd I do?
It looked like me, but there was something wrong. My vision was still off.
Well, I got most of it right anyway. Stuff that mattered. Okay. No sense keeping you in bed anymore. Let's see if we can get you on your feet.
The room still spun and I felt like I was going to vomit.
Good.
But held it together.
Why don't you walk down to the end of the room? Over by that vigor tester machine there. Take it slow now. It ain't a race.
Now that I stood, my legs felt wobbly, hard to control. My whole body ached, but I did what I had to, putting one foot in front of the other.
Ooh, looking good so far. Go ahead and give the vigor tester a try. We'll learn right quick if you get back all your faculties.
I stopped in front of the machine and leaned on it to stop myself from swaying. I wanted to ask the man some questions. Who was he? Where was I? But I knew that all that could wait. It all looked right. I used to be a bit more spry, but time and injuries had taken their toll at age 31.
Yeah, that's a pretty standard score there, but after what you've been through, I'd say that's great news. Well, we know your vitals are good. But that don't mean them bullets didn't leave you nuttered in the bighorn and dropping. What do you say you take a seat in my couch and we go through a couple of questions? See if your dogs are still barking.
I followed the doc into the next room and took a seat on the rough old couch, happy to be off my feet again. But my vision was still giving me fits.
All right. I'm gonna say a word. I want you to say the first thing that comes to mind. Dog.
Cat.
House.
Shelter.
Night.
Campfire.
Enemy.
Swiss cheese.
Light.
Darkness.
Mother.
Regret.
Okay. Now, I got a few statements. I want you to tell me how much they sound like something you'd say. First one. Conflict just ain't in my nature.
Yeah, right. Disagree.
I ain't given to relying on others for support.
Absolutely.
I'm always fixin' to be the center of attention.
Not if I can help it.
I'm slow to embrace new ideas.
Most bad ideas are new ones.
I charge in to deal with my problems head on. Almost done here. What do you say you have a look at this? Tell me what you see.
Not sure. An ant of some kind?
Okay. How about this one?
A ship. A bearded man.
Well, that's all she wrote. I don't have nothing to compare it to, so maybe you'd better just have a look at the results. See if it all seems right to you.
I had to fix it a bit, but it was all right. I always hated paperwork. It was always the worst part of being in the army.
Before I turn you loose, I need one more thing from you. I got a form for you to fill out so I can get a sense of your medical history. Just a formality. Ain't like I expect to find you got a family history of getting shot in the head. All right, I guess that about does it. Come with me, I'll see you out.
I stood again, feeling the lightheadedness return. But this time it was better. That was when I noticed it. My vision. It wasn't off. I was blind in one eye. Everything out of my left was black. Suppose it was the best I could ask for after being shot in the head.
Here, these are yours. Was all you had on you when you was brought in. I hope you don't mind, but I gave the note a look. I thought it might help me find a next of kin. But it was just something about a platinum chip. Well, if you're heading back out there, you ought to have this. They call it a Pip-Boy. I grew up in one of them vaults they made before the war. We all got one. Ain't much use to me now, but you might want such a thing after what you've been through.
Thank you.
I know what it's like having something taken from you. And put this on too, so the locals don't pick on you for lacking modesty. Never was much my style anyway.
Thanks for patching me up, Doc.
Don't mention it. It's what I'm here for. You should talk to Sunny Smiles before you leave town. She can help you learn to fend for yourself in the desert. She'll likely be at the Saloon. I reckon some of the other folks at the Saloon might be able to help you out too. And the metal fella, Victor, who pulled you out of your grave. Anyway, you ever get hurt out there, you come right back. I'll fix you up. But try not to get killed anymore.
And that was it. The doc said his goodbyes and I made to leave. I wasn't much for a vault suit, so I convinced him to let me change back into some old road leathers. Then, I was gone. Outside, the light hit my eyes hard. I waited for them to adjust before taking a look around. I didn't know where I was. Suppose I should have asked the doc, but the nearby sign said the words Good Springs on it. It wasn't much of a town, but at least the folk here hadn't let me die, and that counts for a lot out here in the wastes. Memories passed through my head, thoughts about the job and what I was going to do next. I had to find the man who killed me, and I needed to get the package back. First, I had to get my bearings and get my feet under me. First stop was the old cemetery at the top of the hill overlooking the town. I wanted to see where it all had happened, and I wanted to see if I could find any clues about the fellers who put a bullet in my head. They had jumped me when I was on the road. Careless of me to not keep an eye out, but I had been tired. That wouldn't happen again. On my way up the hill, I ran into a robot, and I assumed correctly that he was the one Doc Mitchell told me about. The robot who dug me out of the dirt and saved my life.
Howdy, partner. Might I say you're looking fit as a fiddle?
Thanks for digging me out of that grave.
Don't mention it. I'm always ready to lend a helping hand to a stranger in need.
How'd you know where to find me?
I was out for a stroll that night when I heard the commotion up the old bone orchard. Saw what looked like a bunch of bad eggs, so I laid low. Once they had run off, I dug you up to see if you were still kicking. Turns out you were, so I hauled you off to the dock right quick.
Never seen a bot like you before.
I'm a Securitron. Robco Security Model 2060B. If you ever see any of my brothers, tell them Victor says howdy.
Suppose I'll see you around.
Happy trails!
I took a moment to look over the town. There was a saloon, the Doc's house, a general store, a few ramshackle homes, and a red schoolhouse at the far end, which appeared to have seen better days. Far to the south would be Prim, though I had never been to this area. Best get comfortable with it, though, as I knew I was going to be here for some time. I continued up the hill, and that's when it hit me. Everything started to come back. The man in the checkered suit. The package. It was nothing more than a platinum poker chip. His gun. Fancy, not practical. The end. Finally, the grave, my final resting place. Only it wasn't. By luck, or by providence, I was still alive. And I planned to keep it that way. Left behind in my former grave was my old Colt pistol and my armored traveling clothes. Those I could put on later, but I immediately pulled out the pistol and looked it over. It wasn't fancy, but it got the job done, and she never broke or jammed. I was glad to have her back. I pulled out my binoculars and had a look around. In the gully below me was a rad scorpion den, or several from what it looked like. I wasn't going that way, not unless I wanted to return to that grave. If there was anything left of me to bury, that is. It was hard, looking through binoculars with one eye, but I managed. I would have to, as I had no other choice. Off in the distance was New Vegas, and the moment I saw it, I knew I was going to wind up there. Wasters don't dress like the man in the suit, nor did they talk like him. No, he was from there. The lights, the glitter, the glimmer. That's where I would find him. I continued my scouting, looking along the road to the north, which would be a quick way to get to Vegas, and the man in the suit. However, the sign saying, "Keep out," and warning, forced me to take a closer look. Cazadores, horrible flying creatures that would sting you to death in seconds. Don't think heading north is a good idea, not with the shape I was in. With the paths north leading to certain death, I was forced to make my way back to town. There was no way I was ready to leave yet anyway, not without supplies and caps. I wouldn't last a day in the wastes in my condition, but I was used to hard work, and a little town like this was bound to have a few halfway decent paying jobs to get me started. I had my pistol again, 5 rounds in the chamber and a few more to spare. That wasn't going to get me to New Vegas alive, though. Not when I had to cross the Mojave. As I made my way up to the saloon, I was met by a man with an old hat and a worn face. As I approached, he greeted me and we struck up a conversation.
Howdy. What can Easy Pete do for you?
He was a nice feller, so I started by asking him where he got his name from.
Was a prospector until I decided to settle here to get away from the NCR. Now we'll just take it easy and help out with the Brahmin and Bighorners.
You know anything about the fellers who shot me?
The one in the fancy suit seemed to be calling the shots. That's as much as I know. Other folks in town might know more. Word of advice, though, if you ever catch up with him, watch out. The man's got cold eyes like a snake. Can't be trusted, I'd say.
You said you were a prospector.
Nah. Means I poke through old buildings looking for working tech and such. Some folks just call it salvaging, but never liked the term. Way I see it, salvage means it's broken, near worthless. Me, I look for the good stuff. Guns, chems, spare parts. Good money in it.
Did you ever find anything worthwhile?
Nope. Had a pretty good claim once, way out east by the river, but got run off by raiders. Eventually got too old to keep going out.
Sounds like you got something against the NCR. Guess that makes two of us.
Don't get me wrong. The NCR's got a lot of decent folk in it. It's just that they make you part of them whether you like it or not. Towns like Good Springs and Prim don't stay independent for long. Not if you've got something the NCR wants. Still, the NCR keeps the Legion away.
There was truth to that. I had fought for the NCR long ago, and it left a bitter taste in my mouth. But who were these Legion folks? Only heard rumors about them back west along the coast.
They're slavers, led by a guy named Caesar, or Caesar. Not sure how you're supposed to say it. A couple of years ago, they tried to take over Hoover Dam, but the NCR beat them back. The NCR didn't or couldn't finish the job, though. The Legion's got its strength back and is getting ready for another round at the dam. My money's still on the NCR winning, but you never know. We've been hearing stories about legionaries on the Nevada side of the river, so keep a gun handy. You don't want to get caught by them.
Fighting over an old dam. I suppose there are worse things to fight over. But was it really that important?
The dam powers a lot of New Vegas, and then there's all that clean water lying in Lake Mead, too. Anybody who owns the dam owns the territory.
Guess that answered my question. How about those bighorns?
Meat and hide, mostly. Can't put a pack on them. You just lay down until you take it off. Can find a bunch of wild ones high up in the hills, but gotta be careful around them. They can put up a decent fight if cornered.
How about that robot? Know anything?
The machine? Harmless, no matter what Trudy says. She thinks it's hiding something, but I think it's just a broken down relic with no place to be.
Thanks for the talk, Pete. Guess I'll see you around.
Keep your gun handy if you go poking around some of the abandoned places around here, like the schoolhouse. Critters move in there sometimes.
Finally, I made my way into the bar.
Cheyenne, stay. Don't worry, she won't bite unless I tell her to.
I was greeted by a young woman, mid-20s by the looks of it. This must be Sunny Smiles, who the doc had mentioned. I asked what she did around town.
I hunt geckos mostly. The meat's pretty good and I can always find a buyer for the hides. I also help keep the town clear of rad scorpions and coyotes. Not many people live in Good Springs, so wildlife is always creeping in.
As a hunter, she would probably know about where to find some decent pay. So I asked about jobs.
Not in Good Springs, no. But if you're up for a little scavenging, there's always the schoolhouse. Most of what's in there is junk, but there's this old safe that even Easy Pete wasn't able to crack with dynamite. If you want to take a shot at it, take these.
A magazine? For what?
If the lock's too much for you to handle, reading through the magazine might give you the edge you need.
Guess I'll take a look when I get the chance.
Always happy to help someone down on their luck.
I then asked her about getting to Prim to the south.
Sure can. Take the road southeast out of town till it hits the freeway. Prim is the town with a roller coaster straight south. Can't miss it. NCR patrols do a good job of keeping the highway clear, but I'd keep your gun where you can reach it easily. You never know who you'll run into. Off the road, you'll probably start running into hostile wildlife. My advice would be to stick to the highway when you can.
What about the rest of the areas around town?
Sure, what do you want to know?
Any other nearby towns?
Southeast of here is Prim, can't miss it. Since it has the giant old roller coaster right in the middle of town. The NCR's got an outpost there. If you follow the road north, you'll eventually hit Saloon and Courier Junction. They mine rocks or something, but I heard they got troubles lately. I wouldn't head that direction if I were you, though. Got critters up there that don't take kindly to getting shot.
What do you think about the NCR?
The new California Republic. Bunch of settlers and soldiers coming in from the west, fixing on making Nevada their own. They can be right pushy, but the roads are safer because of them, so I tend to let it go. Not that I got a choice.
What are they keeping you all safe from?
Well, the wildlife for one thing, rowdy locals for another. They're protecting their own. Just happens to help us. They've been holding off this other group from the east, too.
Heard of them. What do you think?
Got a funny name. Call themselves Caesar's Legion. Never seen them in these parts, so I couldn't tell you much. I hear rumors, that's about it. Supposedly they keep slaves and they got some real nasty ways of killing folks. But maybe that's just something folks in the NCR cooked up to make themselves seem more useful here. Less uninvited.
What kind of creatures are out there?
Around here, mostly coyotes and geckos. The coyotes are pretty dangerous in large packs, but otherwise they're nothing to really worry about. The geckos aren't too tough, but they've got a nasty bite. I've heard about bigger, nastier versions out in the wasteland, but I've never seen them. Stick to the roads when you can, and steer clear of the hills north of Good Springs. The critters up there are big and poisonous.
Thanks for answering my questions.
If you want to know anything else, just ask.
The doc mentioned you could teach me a bit about how to survive in the desert. That true?
Yeah, I guess there's a thing or two I could show you. Sounds like you need all the help you can get after what they done to you. Meet me outside, behind the saloon.
Before following Sonny out back, I quickly made my way through the bar to find a place to change my clothes. It was a quaint little place, and I could see why it was the most popular place in town. I quickly changed out of the old road leathers and into my traveling clothes. They were a bit dirty, but I preferred the fit and feel of them. Then, I headed out back. Sonny was waiting for me, and I saw a line of bottles on a nearby fence. Target practice.
Now, see the sarsaparilla bottles on the fence there? Take this and try to hit a couple of them. That's the right idea. Look down the sight. Try crouching down and staying still. Nice shot. Well, that's a start. But I don't reckon you came to me to learn to fight sarsaparilla bottles. Tell you what, I gotta go chase geckos away from our water supply anyway. Darn critters are attracted to it. Why don't you come along?
Sure.
Follow me. It's just down to the southeast a short ways.
We started off towards the edge of town, and it felt good to be on the move again. The walk was brief, maybe only a half mile or so south of Good Springs. Sonny said this was where they get their water, the sole reason the town's existence and its name. I had hunted geckos before, and I kept my shotgun at the ready.
Hear that up on the ridge behind me there? We got some geckos to clear out. Bunch of little monsters is what they are. Seems like Doc Mitchell treats more gecko bites than anything else. Let's see if we can get a little closer. If we move quietly, we can get the jump on them. More likely to hit something vital that way.
A real hunter knew the value of silence. Stealth was the greatest ally, and so we got the drop on the little monsters. It looked like just 2 of them, but I moved up cautiously, just in case. It felt like it was all coming back to me now. I quickly skinned a few of the geckos before heading back to Sunny.
See? You're getting the hang of it. There's 2 more wells that still need clearing. You want, you can come along. It'd be worth a few caps to me.
I'm in.
Shouldn't take more than a couple minutes, especially with 2 of us. Come with me.
I followed along, eager to practice my shooting and excited at the offer of caps. Kid was a good shot. But so was I. The geckos went down in a heap, and then we finished off the last few down the path. Looks like we might have saved someone's life too. I caught up with Sunny to collect my pay.
Now that was some good work. Even got a little exciting there at the end. Here's a little spending money for the trouble. One more thing I wanted to show you. Thought I might teach you about living off the land and making useful things for yourself. Interested? Okay, say no more. I'm heading back now. Hope I didn't miss anything good on the jukebox. Cheyenne would never forgive me. Hey, do me a favor. Trudy, she's the bartender up at the Prospector. Kind of the town mom. She likes to meet newcomers. She'd be cross with me if I didn't ask you to poke your head in and say hi.
Don't worry, I can check in with her. Thanks again.
Holy moly. If you hadn't come here like you done, I'd be a goner for sure. I came up here to draw water, but here, you should have what I got. You look thirsty.
With the lady we saved. She was a bit beat up, but at least she was alive. And she was thankful for our arrival. Only 1 day out from nearly having my head blown off, and I was already hunting geckos and saving lives. Not bad for a man with 1 good eye. I gathered what I could, and then started back towards town. On the way I ran into a small shop called Frankies Guns, which I had seen on the way, and decided to stop by. I didn't have much money, and there wasn't much I was interested in, but it was good to know it was here. The owner was friendly enough, and even seemed to have some work available, though I still wasn't ready for that yet. The walk back to town was quiet and relaxing, with nothing but the soft breeze and pink sunset to keep me company. When I reached town, I went straight to the saloon, wanting to check in with that Trudy lady Sunny had mentioned. When I entered, there was a commotion, and I could hear a man yelling near the bar.
I'm done being nice. If you don't hand Ringo over soon, I'm going to get my friends and we're burning this town to the ground. Got it?
We'll keep that in mind. Now, if you're not going to buy something, get out.
What the hell is your problem?
I was surprised to see her handle that so well. Whoever that was better watch his mouth, or he may not be so lucky next time. I snagged a small help-wanted flyer, and then made my way over to Trudy.
Well, you've been causing quite a stir. Glad I finally got to meet you. Welcome to the Prospector Saloon.
Want to tell me what that was all about?
Looks like our little town got itself dragged into the middle of something we don't want anything to do with. About a week ago, this traitor, Ringo, comes into town. Survivor of an attack, he says. Bad men after him. Needs a place to hide. We figured he was just in shock, so we gave him a place to lie low. We didn't actually expect anyone to come after him.
How come Cobb hasn't found him yet? Town ain't that big.
Cobb hasn't exactly been looking for Ringo too hard. I think he's afraid that Ringo will ambush him, which is probably true.
So what do you all plan on doing?
Some of the others, like Sonny, will probably stand up for Ringo if he asks for help, which he hasn't. Personally, I hope he sneaks out of town one night and takes the powder gangers with him.
Powder gangers? Never heard of them.
Chain gangs, really. The NCR brought them in from California to work on the rail lines. Problem is, it turns out that giving convicts a bunch of dynamite and blasting powder isn't the best idea. It was a big escape not too long ago. Some of them stuck together so they could make trouble. That's what we're dealing with now.
Sounds like a real tough spot. So, where's Ringo hiding out now?
He's holed up at the abandoned gas station up the hill.
Why not just shoot that Cobb feller and be done with it?
You mean murder him? That's not our way, even if Cobb is scum. He can bluster and threaten all he wants.
You all are a lot nicer than me. Enough about that. I had a few other questions.
All right.
Well, I need to know about the men who shot me. You know anything? Who they were? Where they were from? Anything could help.
Not much, other than they're a bunch of freeloaders who expected a few rounds on the house. I was able to get them to pay up, though. Of course, one of the great cons did knock my radio to the floor, by accident, and it hasn't been working since.
Did they say where they were going?
They were having some kind of argument about it, but the guy in the checkered coat kept shushing them. Sounded like they came in from the north through Quarry Junction. If that's the case, I can't say I blame them for not wanting to go back.
Why not?
That whole area is overrun with the kind of critters that just get mad if you shoot them. Merchants avoid that whole stretch of I-15 like it's radioactive, which it could be for all I know.
So where do you think they were going?
I didn't hear exactly, but the leader was talking about the strip. Fellow wants to get there and avoid the 15, he'd have to go east. Take Highway 93 up.
New Vegas. I knew it. Figured I'd wind up there. What about that robot feller, Victor? Anything you know about him?
I know that thing as much as anyone else around here. It mostly keeps to itself, which is just fine by me.
I see you ain't too fond of him.
It acts friendly enough, but I don't trust that whole cheerful cowboy act. I find it all very creepy.
Does he do anything around here?
Other than rolling around once in a while, it doesn't do anything useful as far as I can tell. I don't know why it took an interest in you, but I'd be careful. It's never helped anyone before.
How long has he been here?
It was here when I took over the saloon 7 years ago. Some people have said its owner lived here, but no one knows who it was.
At least he ain't hurting no one. Got something else I want to ask, though.
Fine by me.
Heard any other rumors from the rest of the Mojave?
There's always something interesting going on. But the biggest news has to be the come and dust up between the NCR and the Legion over the dam.
Tell me about the NCR.
The new California Republic's got the most power in Nevada. Money, troops, you name it. They do what they can to keep things safe in the region. But if you ask me, they're trying to do too much. They're spread too thin.
I know a bit about the Legion, but what have you heard?
Slavers, killers, and all other kinds of trouble. They dress up like Roman soldiers, so there's no mistaking it when you see them. The rumor is that the Legion is far larger than the NCR lets on, and that it's been due to luck that the Legion hasn't overrun the territory.
Well, that's good to know. Hey, before I go, you think I could take a look at your radio? I've always been good at tinkering with stuff.
Sure, the outside looks okay, but I think something broke on the inside. There'd be caps in it for you. I do like to hear what's going on in the world, and that Mr. New Vegas seems like such a gentleman.
I was about to ask about that Ringo feller, but then I thought better of it.
Be careful out there.
No sense in getting wrapped up into trouble just yet. Instead, I focused on Trudy's radio, which sat behind the bar. I fixed it up with ease and started out the door after Trudy to let her know. I needed those caps for breakfast tomorrow, and I caught up with her right quick.
Feeling thirsty? I can take care of that.
Just figured I'd let you know the radio is fixed.
Yeah, I heard it turn right back on after you got done tinkering with it. Here's some caps for the work.
Thanks for the pay.
You're welcome. So can I get you anything?
That's all.
Be careful out there.
Have a good night, ma'am. As soon as Trudy walked away, I set about looking for a place to sleep. I figured, in a town like this, there was bound to be a place for a vagrant like me to crawl up in for the night. An old trailer caught my eye, and inside I found a disgusting old mattress. Worn, filthy, but at least it was something. I curled up on it and wrapped my coat tight against me before closing my eyes. Despite the uncomfortable position, I slept well. I should have been dead. Instead, I rose from the ashes, life burning in me again. It wasn't just life. Desire burned inside me now. The desire for revenge.